Um, for those of you who I haven't met, I'm Joel Chapman. I work in the fitness center here, and it's just upstairs at the end of the hallway here. Lena asked me to talk about the benefits of weight training or starting a program. It goes by a lot of names: weight training, strength training. So when you see benefits of strength training on here, that's just kind of another term for learning how to use some weights. The benefits of strength training, I could spend a whole half an hour just talking about the benefits of strength training. And if you go to Google and you put in benefits of strength training, you're going to get endless supply of information on there. And a lot of those I'm not even going to cover today. I'm going to cover the main ones that I see is the primary benefits of strength training, and the ones that I see people that use our fitness facility enjoying. I see these benefits being enjoyed by our members and students. So the first bullet point, I'm not trying to be funny here, but you'll see an increase in strength. And why I put that on here is because when you're stronger, every task, every activity that you do is that much easier for you. So let's just say you go grocery shopping and you're bringing your groceries home. If you're stronger, that's going to be less taxing on your whole system, taking the groceries out of the car, carrying them into the house, putting them into the pantry, those things. You get into an athlete, let's say they're not in a strength sport, they're an endurance athlete, they're a runner. Getting stronger actually makes their gait or the way that they run, they're able to hold their technique longer, and it benefits them. By being stronger, it makes their running that much easier for them. So that's why I have increased strength on the first one here. It makes everything better. Increased muscle mass. This is important because it kind of goes hand in hand with increased strength. You can increase your strength a couple different ways. Your neurology, your mind is making connections with your body, and you can improve those that wiring in your body to get stronger. You can also, over time, increase your muscle mass. The bigger your muscle is, the more what we call tensile strength, the more force that muscle can exert. So the more muscle mass you have, the stronger you can be. The other good thing about muscle mass is if we think about aging, and typically an adult will lose 3 or 4% of their lean body mass per decade once they're out of their teens. Lean body mass is everything in your body that's not fat. So we're talking about organs, bones, connective tissue, muscle. So as we age and we get out into our 20s and 30s and 40s and beyond, on average, people are losing muscle mass and bone, connective tissue. And this becomes important as you get older. The less muscle mass you have, the less opportunity you have to exert force and be strong, makes every activity harder, and you become frail, and then you're not as active, and then that affects your cardiovascular system, and it's a whole downward spiral. So if we can increase our muscle mass, we can combat this age-related loss that we see typically in people with every decade of life. So, and I've seen research too, 80 and 90-year-olds increase muscle mass in their legs with doing leg extension strength training exercise. So they're in their 80s and 90s, and they did a 12-week study where they lifted with these leg extensions, and 80 and 90-year-olds showed an increase in muscle mass. So it's for everyone, okay? I put in down here increase in insulin sensitivity, and what I'm getting at is controlling blood glucose and the whole idea of you're exerting energy and you're burning calories and you're using glucose, in your blood, and you're also able to dispose of the glucose in your blood system into the muscles. That's a target tissue of insulin. Much easier and faster if you have one bout of exercise, and also if you're trained. So what that means is if you go up right now, you've never lifted weights in your life, and you do one strength training workout, for the next 24 to 48 hours, your insulin sensitivity will be increased. Also, if you have never strength trained before and you do a 12-week training program, your insulin sensitivity will be increased beyond those 48 hours after your last bout. So there's what we call a training effect and an acute or a one exercise bout effect. And this plays a role in people either pre-diabetic or diabetic. And as we age, we're more predisposed to those type of metabolic diseases where it's high glucose. Our pancreas isn't producing enough insulin, and so by these muscles working, they actually upregulate some genes that cause the glucose to get into those muscles much faster. Bone mineral density, that's another big one, okay? As we age, not only do we typically lose some lean body mass related to muscle mass, we lose bone mass. But let's say we're doing strength training. We can, in our younger years, build up a nice supply of bone mineral density. And as we age, now we have a reservoir of bone mineral density to kind of draw on as we age. Also, we can increase our bone mineral density when we're older as well. And what's going on is there's a signal, so I don't know, a lot of us, we kind of don't think about it, but bone is living tissue. And they're bone cells. And the stress, in this case a good stress, of the force applied by your muscles onto moving a dumbbell or a barbell, there's stress and force on those bones. And those cells feel that stress, and they send a signal to the body that says, I better build up my bones stronger because my bones are under stress. I need to be built up and stronger to handle this stress. So that's what's going on with what we call weight-bearing and strength training activities. The actual bone cells are reacting to that force, and they're telling the body to adapt, get stronger. So that becomes important. And we've had some older members in our fitness center that they have osteoporosis. We do some strength training with them. They go back 6 months later and do a bone scan, and they've improved their bone mineral density. So I've seen it firsthand work, so it's not just something that I've read in a book. The last one, it's hard to put data on this, but an increase in confidence. When someone starts a new project like, hey, I want to start some strength training and get stronger, and then they stick with it, and they see benefits of it, and especially with strength training, you begin to get some more confidence in yourself. Hey, I can do this. I can go on this 3-mile hike that has some hills on it because my legs are stronger because I've been doing some squats with my strength training and my legs are stronger. So I've seen a big increase in confidence with people who have started a strength training program of all ages too. Young people, middle-aged, older people. So again, that's one that it's hard to put data on it, but I've seen it quite a bit. Any questions on this first slide here about the benefits? Again, I could sit here and talk for an hour on this. So you can go to Google and find a lot more benefits as well. A lot of them are kind of secondary benefits, leading off of these right here that I've listed. When it comes to beginning a strength training routine, one of the big questions might be, what do I do? How much? How many? How often? Do we know the difference between sets and repetitions? So I'm going to use a little terminology here. If I got down and I did 10 push-ups, I rested a minute and I did 10 more, that's 2 sets of 10 repetitions of push-ups. That's different than if I just got down on the floor and did 20 in a row. That would be 1 set of 20. And actually, it's two different stresses on the body, and as we'll see in a little bit, 2 different adaptations the body would have between the two. But let's say I wasn't strong enough to do 20 of them, but I could do 10, rest, and do 10 more. That allows me to get some more push-ups in without just having to say, oh, I can only do 12, so I'm only going to do 12. So when people start strength training, if we're looking in general, I'm not talking about competitive athletes here. For health and wellness benefits, if you look in a lot of sources, you're going to see between 8 and 12 repetitions. I usually just say 10 to make it easy. 10's a nice round number. It's in the middle of that range. So the number of sets that we would do, that's going to depend. I say 1 to 3 sets. So why is there a range there? Well, there's, just like with medication, there's a dose response. If I do 1 set of 10 repetitions of push-ups, I'm going to get a lot of benefit compared to no sets of 10, right? If I do 2 sets of 10, I'm going to get some more benefits than just doing 1 set of 10, but that jump from 1 to 2 isn't quite as big as going from 0 to 1. And 3 sets, again, you get more benefits than 2, but again, that jump isn't even quite as big as a jump from 1 to 2. So there is a point kind of diminishing returns. For health and wellness, 3 sets is going to be the good dose response, where if you're doing 4 and 5 sets, maybe that extra smaller percent increase in benefits, you'd be better off using that time doing some other things, maybe some stretching activities or cardiovascular exercise or anything else. So 1 to 3 sets of 10 repetitions. That's why I have a range there. When you're first starting out with a strength training program, no matter how easy it is, you just do 1 set the first day. Even if you have a light weight and you can do 3 sets of 10, because you're doing something your body's not used to, you're going to be sore. All right? And if we do 3 sets of 10, you're going to be sore for 3 or 4 or 5 days, and that's not productive. We could have avoided that by starting with 1 set of 10. So an easy way of doing this, I'll start the first workout with a person, 1 set of 10. Second workout, 2 sets of 10. Third workout, 3. So that you have a ramp up into the whole workout here in the 3 sets, so that the soreness is controlled to a point where you actually want to come back and do something. And yes, Lena.
What if you can't do the whole 10 reps?
If you,
okay?
You're segueing very nicely into the next slide. Thank you. Yeah. Did everyone hear that? What Lena asked, what if you can't do the full set of 10 repetitions? I've got this slide right here, this next one, called progression. Okay, so to get stronger, we have to increase the resistance. And if we're talking about dumbbells and barbells, that means the weight that we're picking up. That doesn't mean we increase the repetitions. So what's happening here is, if I have 5 pounds and I'm doing a curl with it on my first 3 workouts, okay, with 5 pounds, and now I've gotten on my 3rd workout 3 sets of 10 with those 5 pounds. If I want to get stronger, what I shouldn't do is now do 3 sets of 15, and then 3 sets of 20, and then 3 sets of 25 with it. I don't know if we can read this, if it came out well, but there's this chart on the bottom of this slide, and on the left side, it says RM load, that's repetition max load. Think of that as the number of reps that you could complete. And so that on the left side, 1 or 2 or 3 would be a really heavy weight that you could only move 3 times. On the right side is a pretty light weight that you could move 20, 25 times without a problem. If you look at below, underneath those, these are some of the benefits that you achieve using weights that are that heavy or that light. So if you look over on the left, if we're using heavier weights, we're going to see an increase in strength and power development in what's called high intensity endurance. But that little thing there that you can't read, that says low intensity endurance or muscular endurance. So if we have a heavy weight, we're moving it a few times, we're increasing our strength. If we take that 5-pound dumbbell and just stay with the 5-pound dumbbell endlessly and just keep doing more and more reps over the weeks, we're over on that right-hand side of this, okay, where it says 20 or 25 repetitions. And look what you can't even read. You can't read strength or power, right? You barely get any benefit there with light loads that are that light. Really what you're getting when you're working in those high repetition ranges with a light weight is a local endurance. What we mean by local is local to that muscle group you're working. So if you're doing a curl, you're getting some endurance in that biceps muscle, but you're not building a whole lot of strength. So what I say on this second bullet point I have, do not keep the weight the same and endlessly increase repetitions. People want to do this. I've noticed this over all the years. This is what people want to do. They like accomplishing their 10 reps. They like accomplishing their weight. I have this 5 pounds. I don't want to fail. I want to keep doing it. And I'll just do a few more because I don't know if I go to 10 pounds if I'll fail or not. So there's a tendency for a lot of people to not want to move to that next higher weight. But that's, if we're increasing our strength, that's what we have to do. So underneath that, now I'm finally answering your question, Lena. Yes, it is okay to fail. You may not achieve all your repetitions, especially when you have just recently increased the weight, but now you have a goal. So using the 5-pound example with the we got to our 3 sets of 10. We did it for a couple workouts. And we have 8-pounders in there, but we'll just pretend we're at most places where their next jump is 10 pounds. Okay, so now we grab the 10, and we only get 7 with it. In our mind, oh no, we failed, but it's okay. If you look on this chart here, we're increasing our strength in our power production using a weight like that. We have a goal now to get 10 repetitions with this new weight. But if we would have stayed at that 5-pound weight and just started doing 12 and 15 and 20 reps, we're moving out of that strength and power area and we're moving into that local muscular endurance. So that's the important thing, that failure here we have to rearrange our mind, and it is okay to fail because it's moving us towards the goal that we want to get to, and that's increasing our strength. Yes, Kim?
Just a question, when you increase the weight, do you go back to that 1 set, 2 set, 3 thing, or do you still try to do 3 sets?
This is great. Did you guys get together and decide you're going to segue into each of my slides? So I'm glad you asked that, Kim, because look at the next slide here. So the next slide, I have a sample 6-week progression from the beginning of a strength training program. Here I started with a 10-pound weight. It could be a generic exercise. We'll call it an arm curl just for the sake of example, but it could be any exercise. The first workout, 1 set of 10, then 2 sets of 10, then 3 sets of 10 for the first 3 workouts. Now we're going to repeat that 3rd set of 10. Now we really know we are at that strength level. We've done 2 workouts in a row. And then we might say, yeah, but going to that 15 is going to be a pretty big leap. I'm going to give myself a little more of a challenge, do 3 sets of 12. Okay, if we look on this the above slide, we're still pretty close to the sets of 10 where we're increasing our strength in power. So now we do 3 sets of 12 for a couple workouts, still with the same 10-pound weight. Once we've established that we're that strong, now we can go to the 15s, but we're going to go down to 8 repetitions and do 3 sets of 8. If you look on the above slide, 8's pretty close to 10, right? And we're still getting that increase in strength and power development. So then we can build up. We'll do a couple days at 3 sets of 8 repetitions. Then we'll move up to 3 sets of 10 with the 15 pounds, and then 3 sets of 12 with a 15. Then we're ready for the 20s. So that would be a progression. So I would say you wouldn't want to go, after you've done 3 sets of 10, go up to the next weight. You wouldn't want to go down to 1 set. Okay, we're going to try to keep those sets and reps in this general range right here. So this is just kind of like a way, there are plenty of right ways to do this. This is a very simple one that makes sense to a lot of people when I show it to them. Yes, Kathy?
So how long do you break in between reps? Is that the next
What? Almost, kind of. There is one on there. So I'm glad you asked that, though, because that is an important point. So what makes it two sets instead of one big long set? The real answer is you've rested long enough so you can recover enough to get your next set. So if you're carrying what we call fatigue, if you're carrying that muscle fatigue or even general fatigue into your second or third set from the previous set, you haven't rested long enough. If you're carrying enough fatigue where that keeps you from accomplishing your next reps in the next set, now, what does that mean? Try a minute, and you can, in the beginning, a minute might be enough for you. As the weights get heavier and you build more strength and you're challenging yourself harder, you're going to need more rest in between. So now that minute becomes 90 seconds or 2 minutes. Or we go to the extreme, we have an athlete in a power sport like football or volleyball, and they're doing back squats with a barbell with, let's say, 315 pounds on their back. We might have them rest 5, 6, 7 minutes in between their sets at that point, because they're really challenging themselves, and they need to be recuperated and ready for that to accomplish that next set. Okay, now the second to last slide, strength training exercise order. Well, what order do we do things in? There are many ways to do this. If you want to do a typical basic way, you start with big muscle groups first. When more than one joint is involved in an exercise, we call that multi-joint because we like to sound really fancy, but when a multi-joint exercise, that's usually one that you want to do first. So a squat is going to involve the hip, the knee, the ankle, multi-joints, lots of muscle involved. We're going to do that first. A shoulder press, which is moving a weight over your head, your shoulder, your elbow is involved, multi-joints. So there's more muscle mass involved. We're going to do those first. So I just have a sample order here where we're moving from multi-joint and we're actually alternating upper and lower body as well. So we're going to squat and then do a shoulder press and then go to a lunge. A lunge is like this. So while we're doing the shoulder press, our legs are resting a little bit. And then we go back to a lunge. We're resting our upper body. After the lunge, we do a barbell row for our upper back. So you see, we're starting with multi-joints and we're kind of going every other upper and lower body. And then we get to the bottom, a triceps extension, maybe on a cable machine like this, or a dumbbell over your head. That's one joint. That's the elbow. That's a single joint exercise. That's got the least muscle mass involved. We leave that for the end. Same with the biceps curl. One joint, elbow. We're leaving that for the end. Why we want to do this is a couple reasons. If we're doing a single joint exercise first, let's say we're doing a whole bunch of biceps curls, and we work this biceps, it's so tired, we're totally done working it, we really challenged ourselves. Now we go to do a multi-joint exercise that involves that muscle group. Now we want to do a dumbbell row that also involves the biceps. If it's already tired, maybe that smaller muscle group is preventing us from working that whole movement where we're also working on our upper back. So now we've worked our biceps really hard, but it's limiting us on how hard we can work our upper back. So we want to do the multi-joint first, where we work the upper back in some of the biceps. Then when we're done with the multi-joint, biceps are maybe a little bit tired, maybe they're actually warmed up, and then we can finish with the biceps. So we're not letting one of these smaller muscle groups prevent the larger muscle groups from basically having their day in the sun, being able to really be worked to their full potential. And another thing I hit on is when you do these multi-joint exercises first, you're warming your body up even more. So a single joint exercise like a biceps curl, there can be, a lot of, if you're not careful, there can be a lot of stress on that one muscle in one joint. So if it's warmed up more from doing a dumbbell row, then you're going to have more success with it. All right. I guess I got a couple minutes here. So the last slide is another way you could organize the exercise order. And this is called supersets. So you could take 2 exercises and do them back to back with very little rest, little to none in between, and then rest, and then do those 2 again. You're alternating between these 2 in one big set. So I have it listed here, a squat and a shoulder press. Okay, you could do a squat, walk over, when you get done with the squat, walk over to where your dumbbells are for the shoulder press, and do your shoulder presses. Then you would rest. Then you would go and do your squat, walk over to the dumbbells, do your shoulder press again. And then you'd rest, and then you do your 3rd superset of those, and then you move on to the next superset. So minimal rest between exercises, a little more rest in between each of those supersets. And I gave an example in here, of what I just said. I tried to spell it out for you. What people like about this is you're not just, some people have a hard time resting in between every single set, okay? So these are for the busybodies that have a hard time resting and recuperating for the next set. Now you can split up the body. So in here I have an upper and lower body kind of split for the first 2, and then the last one, opposing muscle groups, the triceps and biceps. So you get through the workout a little bit faster this way. If you were really trying to increase strength, and let's say we're with competitive athletes here, you wouldn't do a superset necessarily for the main exercises because you do want them to be fully recovered. But when we're talking health and wellness, that's not even on our radar right there. Doing a superset like split up this way is a really good way of ordering your exercises, and allows you to get through it a little bit faster and feel like you're moving more of the time instead of resting in between every single exercise. Mary first, then Amy.
How often should you do these exercises?
How often should you do these? If you could do these 3 days a week, that's kind of like the gold standard. I've seen it work with 2 days a week, but again, the dose response, you're going to get more benefit out of 3 days a week. 1 day a week, you're really not going to make much progress, but on the other hand, you're not going to lose much. So if you're, let's say, this should be kind of like a lifelong pursuit, not just a 6-week deal. So if you're looking long term, when you're busy and you got busy times, 1 day a week will keep your progress. It'll keep what you have. You're not going to make much new progress, but it has its benefits. 2, you're going to make some progress. 3 is when you're really, really rolling and really making a lot of progress on it. Amy.
Is there a necessary warm-up before you even begin your strength training?
Yes, you do what we call a general warm-up, and that's anything that gets your body temperature warmed up. So when it could be walking, biking, anything else where what you're focusing on is not getting a workout in, but slowly bringing your body temperature up. When your body temperature is up, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Your metabolism is coming up. When you physically warm up your muscles and connective tissue, they're more pliable. And the synovial fluid in your joint it's less viscous when things are warmer. So you're warming, that's literally what you're doing, you're warming things up. Then you might do, depending on where you are, for some people for, let's say, this competitive athlete that's using 315 pounds on the squat, he's going to do a specific warm-up then for the squat. He's going to take the empty bar and do a couple sets with that. He's going to put some lighter weight on and do a couple sets with that. If we're beginners and we're squatting with a 5-pound dumbbell, we may not have a specific warm-up for that because we're not taking that big leap from general warm-up to 315 pounds on our back. Yes?
What about afterwards?
Afterwards would be a great time to stretch, yes. Because like I said, when you're warmed up, your tissues are more pliable, so that's a great time to stretch. It's going to be more effective to stretch when you're warmed up like that, yeah. It's a good way to end the whole workout. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Joe.